I built a $300 million investment firm after everyone said I'd fail. Now my sister, ex-boyfriend, and parents are furious. I'm buying out every business they applied to just to reject them. Hello, beautiful people. If you're enjoying our stories, please subscribe and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Now let's continue with today's story. The smell of my mama's peach cobbler should have made me feel at home, all warm and fuzzy inside. Instead, it made my stomach churn as I sat at that Sunday dinner table, watching my family celebrate my spectacular failure. So, you really thought you could be some big-shot investor, huh? My sister Kesha laughed, waving her fork around like she was conducting an orchestra of my humiliation. Girl, you ain't even finished your MBA. I gripped my glass of sweet tea harder, the condensation cold against my palm. 3 months ago, I'd walked away from my secure corporate job, trading it all in to start my own investment firm. 3 months of sleeping maybe 4 hours a night, hustling, pitching to investors who looked at me like I was trying to sell them swampland in Florida. 3 months of pure, unadulterated belief in myself. Baby, it's not too late to come back to reality, Mama said, her voice dripping with that particular brand of disappointment only black mothers can perfect. Your cousin got you an interview at the post office. The post office? Seriously? I had a degree in finance from Howard University, for crying out loud. I worked at a top consulting firm for 5 years, killing myself to climb the corporate ladder. But to them I was just being uppity, getting too big for my britches. Marcus agrees with us, don't you, baby? She prompted, turning to my ex-boyfriend, as of that very moment sitting beside her. Too damn close beside her. Look, babe, Marcus started, and I noticed he wouldn't even meet my eyes. Your parents just want what's best. This investment thing, maybe it's too much for you to handle alone. His words landed differently, felt heavier. When I saw Kesha's hand slide onto his thigh under the table. Too much for me? I stood up slowly, deliberately. Or too much for y'all to believe I could actually do it. Daddy finally spoke, his voice like ice. Sit down. You're embarrassing yourself. That's when I really knew, that I was completely alone in this room full of people who were supposed to be my family. I didn't sit down. Instead, I walked to the kitchen trying to suck in some air. But Kesha followed me like a predator who'd caught a whiff of blood in the water. You always thought you were better than us, she hissed, her face twisted with something uglier than simple sibling rivalry. Walking around with your fancy degree, your corporate job. You think Mama and Daddy proud of you? They embarrassed. My hand shook as I set down my glass, the ice clinking softly. What are you even talking about? They tell everybody at church you working reception somewhere. Can't even admit their daughter out here trying to be some entrepreneur. She said the word like it was something she'd scraped off the bottom of her shoe. And Marcus, he might now been mine for 6 months. The room spun, tilting on its axis. 6 months. While I was working 18-hour days, pouring my heart and soul into my business, believing Marcus understood my dreams, he'd been with my sister. In my mind, I saw a replay of every late night, every time he said he understood I had to work, every time he encouraged me to stay at the office while he went out. You knew I was building something, I whispered, the words catching in my throat. I told you everything, my strategies, my investor meetings. And I told him everything too, Kesha said, smiling like she just won the lottery. Every night while you were out there chasing your little fantasy. Marcus appeared in the doorway. Kesha, not like this, Marcus pleaded, his voice strained. Not like what? I turned to him, my voice shaking with anger. Not like you're a lying, cheating. See this? Why your business failing? Mama's voice cut through from the dining room, sharp and judgmental. Too emotional. Too proud. Just like your grandmother. She died bitter and alone, thinking she was too good for this family too. The comparison stung worse than the betrayal. Grandma Rose was the only one who'd ever truly believed in me, who'd nurtured my ambition instead of trying to clip my wings. I stormed back into that dining room, tears burning my eyes but refusing to fall. I wouldn't give them that satisfaction. You want to know why Grandma Rose died alone? My voice came out surprisingly steady, cold. Because y'all drove her away just like you're trying to do to me because she dared to want more than this. Daddy slammed his hand on the table, rattling the silverware. Watch your mouth in my house. Your house that Grandma Rose's life insurance paid off. The words flew out before I could stop them, fueled by years of simmering resentment. The house you told everyone you earned. I found the paperwork when I was helping her with her estate. She gave y'all everything and you repaid her by calling her crazy. Mama's face went pale, the color draining away like water down a drain. That's different. She understood family takes care of family. No, she understood y'all were users. I grabbed my purse, slinging it over my shoulder. She told me before she died. Warned me you'd do the same to me if I ever outgrew this toxicity. Toxicity? Kesha laughed, a harsh grating sound. Listen to her with her therapy words. This is family, not some business deal. Family doesn't sleep with their sister's boyfriend, I shot back, my voice trembling. Family doesn't celebrate when you're struggling. Marcus finally found his voice, though he still wouldn't meet my gaze. Baby, it wasn't supposed to happen. Kesha was there when you weren't. Don't you dare, I said, pointing a finger at him. Don't you dare try to make this my fault for working hard. See what I mean? Mama shook her head at Daddy, her eyes filled with a false pity. This business done made her paranoid and mean. Baby, you need to let this go. Come home. We'll find you something stable. Something stable. Something small. Something that kept me right where they could see me. Never rising above them. Never outshining them. I'd rather fail alone than succeed with y'all holding me down. The silence that followed was deafening. Thick enough to choke on. I slept in my car that night. A beat-up 2015 Honda Civic with 180,000 miles on it, and a check engine light that had been stubbornly on for 6 months straight. My entire net worth consisted of $847 in checking, $12,000 in credit card debt, and a dream that felt like it was slowly suffocating me. The smell of the fast food bag from dinner mixed with the sickly sweet scent of my cherry air freshener, creating a nauseating concoction. My phone buzzed constantly, a relentless barrage of notifications. Mama calling to tell me to stop being dramatic. Kesha texting a half-hearted apology, saying she was sorry I had to find out this way. Marcus sending rambling paragraphs about how we could work through this, how our love was strong enough to overcome anything. I blocked them all one by one. Then I opened my laptop and stared at my business plan. 63 pages of painstaking research, detailed financial projections, and exhaustive market analysis. 3 years of scrimping and saving every single penny, while my coworkers bought new cars and jetted off on exotic vacations. 52 pitch meetings where investors, mostly older white men, had listened politely and then told me, in that patronizing tone that really meant delusional, that I was ambitious. You're too young, they'd said, shaking their heads. Too inexperienced, too aggressive. Maybe start smaller. Perhaps a nice little consulting side hustle. Translation. Stay in your lane, little black girl. Don't you dare try to step outside the box we've built for you. My laptop screen reflected my face back at me. Eyes swollen and red-rimmed from crying. Hair still pulled back in the slicked-back bun I'd worn to Sunday dinner 12 hours ago. I looked defeated, broken. Then I saw it buried deep in my spam folder. An email from 3 days ago. Subject line, Investment Opportunities Second Review. My hands trembled as I clicked it open, my heart hammering against my ribs. Miss Johnson, after reviewing your revised proposal, we'd like to schedule a call to discuss potential funding. Your market analysis on emerging communities is compelling. Are you available Tuesday at 10 a.m.? It was from Sterling Capital Group, one of the biggest and most prestigious venture capital firms in the entire country. The meeting I thought I'd completely bombed 2 months ago. I had 72 hours to prepare for the call that could change everything. That could finally give me the chance I'd been fighting for. Tuesday morning I found myself sitting in a cramped coffee shop bathroom, balancing my laptop precariously on the edge of the sink, wireless earbuds jammed in my ears. I'd used my last $40 to buy a slightly too big blazer from the thrift store and pay for 6 hours of the coffee shop's Wi-Fi. Miss Johnson, your preliminary numbers are impressive, the voice on the other end said, smooth and professional. It belonged to Robert Chen, Sterling Capital's managing partner. But walk me through your actual implementation strategy. How do you plan to identify undervalued businesses in overlooked communities? I'd practiced this answer 100 times. Rehearsed it until it was ingrained in my very being, but suddenly my family's voices crowded my head, echoing in my ears. Too much for you to handle alone. You're embarrassing yourself. Just a little fantasy. Miss Johnson, are you there? I looked at myself in the coffee shop mirror. My reflection a mix of fear and determination. Grandma Rose's eyes stared back at me, strong, unwavering, unwilling to shrink or back down. Mr. Chin, everything I've built is based on a simple truth. The biggest investment opportunities exist where privilege doesn't look. I grew up watching brilliant people in my community get overlooked and underestimated because they didn't have the right connections, didn't go to the right schools, didn't know the right people. My voice grew stronger, gaining confidence with each word. I know these communities because I am these communities. I can identify potential that traditional investors miss because they're not even in the room, because they're blinded by their own biases. Silence hung on the line, stretching taut, and my heart hammered even harder. That's exactly what we've been missing, Chin said quietly, his tone thoughtful. Traditional VC firms keep funding the same types of founders, the same types of businesses. Your insider perspective, that's your competitive advantage. Tell me more about your first 3 target investments. For the next hour I pitched like my life depended on it. Because in many ways it did. When the call finally ended, Chin said 5 words that changed everything. 5 words that validated all the struggle and sacrifice. We're in for $2 million. $2 million sounds like freedom. Like the answer to all your problems. Until you realize it comes with a crushing weight of expectations. Sterling Capital wanted to see tangible results within 18 months, or they'd pull out, leaving me high and dry. 60 investors were watching me, scrutinizing my every move, most of them secretly betting on my inevitable failure. I heard it whispered at the signing meeting, the casual dismissiveness cutting deep. Diversity play, one partner muttered. Tax write-off when it goes under. I smiled and signed the papers anyway, refusing to let their skepticism dim my fire. Month 1, I worked from a cramped shared office space, a glorified closet that barely fit my desk. No team, no assistant, just me, my laptop, and a cell phone that never stopped ringing. I cold called business owners, attended every networking event I could find, and slept maybe 4 hours a night. The loneliness hit hardest in the dead of night at 2 a.m. When I'd scroll through Kesha's Instagram posts, her and Marcus on dates, laughing and carefree, mama commenting, beautiful couple, with a string of heart emojis. They'd moved on, erased me from their lives like I'd never existed. Good. I had work to do. By month 3, I'd identified my first investment. A small logistics company run by a determined 50-year-old black woman named Patricia, who'd been rejected by 17 banks. Her business model was flawless, her track record impeccable, but she didn't have the right collateral. No fancy real estate or trust fund to fall back on. Just 30 years of hard-won experience and solid contracts with major retailers. Why should I trust you? Patricia asked at our first meeting. Her eyes narrowed with justifiable skepticism. You're barely older than my daughter. Because I'm the only one who looked past your zip code and saw your potential, I said, meeting her gaze directly. And because I'm not asking for your firstborn as collateral, just results. I invested $200,000, taking a chance on her when no one else would. 6 months later, her company's valuation had tripled, proving everyone wrong. Investment 2. A tech startup run by 2 young brothers who'd built an innovative app connecting freelancers with short-term gigs. Every VC they pitched to had dismissed them, saying the market was too saturated, too competitive. I saw something else. They were targeting the exact demographic I understood, the underserved gig workers who were the backbone of the modern economy. I invested $350,000, giving them the resources they needed to scale their vision. The app hit 1 million users in just 9 months, exceeding all expectations. Year 2, everything accelerated. My portfolio was generating returns that made Sterling Capital's traditional investments look sluggish. 5 successful exits, 12 active investments, and suddenly I wasn't just the diversity play anymore. I was the money maker, the one to watch. How did you identify that opportunity? Investors kept asking, studying my deals like they contained secret codes, searching for some hidden formula. The answer was simple, but they'd never truly understand it. I invested in people who looked like me, thought like me, struggled like me, people traditional finance had written off as too risky, too unconventional, too different. Forbes called me the new face of venture capital. Black Enterprise did a cover story. My calendar filled with speaking requests, podcast interviews, and investment proposals from companies that wouldn't have even returned my emails 2 years ago. The money followed, flowing in like a tidal wave. My firm, Apex Capital Group, grew to 35 employees. We moved into a stunning downtown office with floor-to-ceiling windows and that intoxicating new building smell. I bought a house, not a starter home, but a real house with a gourmet kitchen I never had time to use and a garage for the Tesla I'd treated myself to. A symbol of how far I'd come. Success felt like swallowing glass, each shard of triumph laced with bitterness. Every achievement reminded me of that awful family dinner where they'd celebrated my failure. Every interview where I smiled and talked about my journey, I carefully left out the part about sleeping in my car because my sister was sleeping with my boyfriend, the part about feeling utterly alone and abandoned. Then one day my assistant Angela knocked on my office door. Her expression unreadable. "You have a call on line 3. She says she's your mother." I hadn't spoken to Mama in 2 years. Hadn't returned a single call, text, or email. I'd blocked them all after that Sunday dinner, cutting them out of my life like a malignant tumor. "Tell her I'm busy," I said, turning back to my computer. "She says it's about your sister. Something about a business opportunity. She needs your help with." I laughed, a short, sharp sound. "She needs my help? Should I hang up?" Angela asked, hovering in the doorway. I should have said yes, should have shut it down right then and there, but curiosity is a vicious thing, a persistent itch you can't resist scratching. "Put her through," I said, against my better judgment. Mama's voice hadn't changed. Still that familiar mix of saccharine sweetness and subtle manipulation that had controlled me for 28 years, that had always known exactly which buttons to push. "Baby, I know it's been a while, but family is family. We've been watching your success and we're so proud. What do you want?" I cut through the performance, refusing to play along. Silence stretched, thick and uncomfortable. Then her tone shifted, dropped the pretense like a discarded mask. "Kesha and Marcus got married," she said, the words clipped and precise. "They're starting a business together. Event planning. They need investors, and with your connections. You called me after 2 years to ask for money for the sister who stabbed me in the back and the man who cheated on me?" My voice was ice, devoid of all emotion. "The same sister you chose over me, the same man you welcomed into our family while telling me I was too ambitious? That's not fair," Mama protested, her voice rising defensively. "You left us. You cut us off like we didn't matter." "I cut off toxicity," I corrected her, my voice still flat. "There's a difference. This is what success did to you." Mama's voice rose even higher, filled with accusation. "Made you forget where you came from. Forget who raised you. Your sister made a mistake, but she's still your blood. Marcus loves her. They built something real while you were out there chasing money." The words were designed to wound, to make me feel guilty for daring to set boundaries, for prioritizing my own well-being. 2 years ago they might have worked, might have triggered that familiar pang of guilt. "Tell Kesha and Marcus I said congratulations on the wedding. I wasn't invited to, and good luck with their business," I said, my voice unwavering. "They'll need it." "So that's it? You're going to let family struggle out of spite?" "No, Mama," I said, my voice laced with a hard-won understanding. "I'm going to let family learn what I learned. That success requires sacrifice. And sometimes that sacrifice is cutting off the people who only want you around when they need something, the people who actively try to tear you down." I hung up before she could respond, severing the connection with a sense of finality. But here's what I didn't tell her, what I kept carefully hidden. I'd already seen their business plan. 3 days after Mama's call, my acquisition team brought me an interesting proposal. A shell company was selling an event planning business. Prime location, existing client list, turnkey operation. The price was surprisingly reasonable. $400,000. "Why are they selling?" I asked Sarah, my head of acquisitions, my curiosity piqued. "Owners are retiring, want a quick sale," she replied, flipping through the documents. "The business is profitable but small. Maybe $200,000 annual revenue. Not really our usual target." "Buy it," I said, the decision firm and immediate. "Today." Sarah's eyebrows rose in surprise. "It's not really our investment thesis." "By today," I reiterated, cutting off her objections. And, because she was a damn good head of acquisitions, she did. 2 weeks later, Angela burst into my office again, her eyes wide. "Kesha Johnson and Marcus Peters are here," she announced, her voice a mixture of amusement and disbelief. "They say they have an appointment." I smiled, a slow predatory curve of my lips. "Send them in." I hadn't seen them in 2 years, but the years hadn't changed them as much as I'd hoped. Kesha looked the same. Designer bag probably bought on credit. Hair freshly done. That same smug expression plastered on her face. Marcus had gained weight, lost some hair, and wore a suit that didn't quite fit right. A clear sign that he was struggling to keep up appearances. "Look at you," Kesha said, her eyes sweeping over my corner office with a mixture of envy and resentment. "Living your best life while family struggles. What can I do for you?" I kept my voice professional, all business. Marcus pulled out a folder, laying it on my desk with a flourish. "We found the perfect space for our event planning business," he said, his voice eager. "Prime location, existing client base, everything we need. We just need $400,000 to close the deal. Mama said you might help family out." I pretended to study their proposal, though I'd already memorized every word, every number, every carefully crafted sentence. Their financial projections were overly optimistic, their market analysis superficial, and their business strategy was fundamentally flawed. They'd clearly spent more time on the graphics than the actual substance. "This location, you already signed a letter of intent?" I asked, feigning interest. "Yes," Marcus said eagerly, nodding his head. "The owners are motivated. We just need capital to close." "Interesting," I said, closing the folder with a snap. "Because I bought that property last week. Paid cash." The color drained from Kesha's face, leaving her looking pale and gaunt. "You what?" "Apex Capital Group now owns the building you wanted," I said, leaning back in my chair. "What a coincidence." Marcus jumped to his feet, his face contorted with rage. "You did this on purpose," he accused, his voice shaking. "You knew we wanted that property." "Did I?" I raised an eyebrow, feigning innocence. "Or did you just assume that a multimillion-dollar investment firm would simply hand money to two people with no business experience, no track record, and a business plan that looks like it was written by a high school sophomore?" "We're family," Kesha said, her voice cracking, the carefully constructed facade beginning to crumble. "You're supposed to help family." "Family?" I let the word hang in the air, heavy with irony. "Like you helped me when you slept with my boyfriend? Like Mama and Daddy helped me when they told me I was embarrassing myself? Like Marcus helped me when he was feeding my business strategies to you while I trusted him?" Kesha's mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. She looked like a fish gasping for air. "You've been successful," she finally sputtered, her voice desperate. "You can afford to help us. We're struggling." "Good," I said, the word coming out sharp and cold. "You should struggle. You should know what it feels like to work yourself sick while the people you love root for your failure. You should experience exactly what you put me through." "This is sick," Marcus said, shaking his head. "This is revenge." "No," I corrected him, my voice devoid of emotion. "This is business." I stood up, towering over them. "Revenge would be petty," I said, my eyes locking with Kesha's. "Revenge would be public, a messy spectacle. This is just me refusing to fund people who have proven they can't be trusted, people who have actively tried to undermine me. You want to know why I bought that property?" I continued, my voice gaining momentum. "Not because of you. I didn't even know you were interested until you walked in here. I bought it because my analysts identified it as a good investment." The lie came out smooth as silk, undetectable. "Let them wonder. Let them stew in their uncertainty. You're going to regret this," Kesha threatened, her voice laced with venom. "We're going to tell everyone what you did, how you turned your back on family." "Please do," I said, smiling sweetly. "Tell everyone how you tried to use our dead grandmother's successful granddaughter as a personal ATM. Tell them how you destroyed my relationship, then came begging for money. I'm sure that'll make you look great." They left without another word, defeated and humiliated. But I wasn't done, not by a long shot. Over the next 6 months a disturbing pattern emerged, a series of coincidences that even I found darkly satisfying. Every business opportunity Kesha and Marcus pursued, every loan application they submitted, every investor meeting they scheduled, somehow Apex Capital Group was already there, one step ahead of them. A restaurant space they wanted? We bought the building it was in. A small catering company they tried to acquire? We offered double their bid. An angel investor they pitched to? Turns out he was on our advisory board. I didn't have to say a word. My team did their jobs, identified promising opportunities, and I simply approved investments that happened to intersect with my sister's desperate attempts at entrepreneurship. "Someone's blocking us," I overheard Marcus tell Kesha, when they didn't realize I was standing behind them at a networking event. Every door we approach, it slams shut in our faces. It's her, Kesha hissed, her voice filled with a raw, impotent rage. She's doing this deliberately. Was I? Or was I simply building a wildly successful investment empire, while they kept trying to ride my coattails, stubbornly refusing to acknowledge their own limitations? Then one day Daddy showed up at my office. No appointment, no warning, no regard for professional boundaries. He just walked past security like he owned the place, his face set in a grim, determined mask. "You need to stop this," he said without preamble, his voice harsh and accusatory. "Whatever you're doing to your sister, it stops now." "I'm not doing anything except running my business," I said, refusing to be intimidated. I didn't stand up, didn't offer him a seat, didn't acknowledge his presence beyond the bare minimum. If Kesha's business ventures keep failing, maybe she should examine her own competence, I suggested, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "Don't play games with me, girl," he warned, his face growing redder by the second. "I know you're sabotaging her. I'm buying profitable businesses in emerging markets," I retorted, my voice unwavering. "It's not my fault your golden child keeps wanting the same properties I've identified as good investments. Maybe if she'd done her own research instead of trying to copy my success, she'd actually build something." Daddy's face went purple, his veins throbbing in his temples. "You're tearing this family apart," he accused, his voice booming. "No, Daddy," I said, finally standing up, meeting his gaze head-on. "Y'all tore this family apart when you chose her over me, when you celebrated my struggles, when you told me I was aiming too high." I stepped closer, my voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. "I'm just refusing to let you pull me back down." The real confrontation, the one that had been simmering beneath the surface for years, finally erupted on a Tuesday afternoon when Mama, Daddy, Kesha, and Marcus all showed up together. A united front of disapproval and resentment. An intervention staged right there in my lobby, for my entire staff to witness. "We're not leaving until you listen," Mama announced, her voice loud enough for everyone in the office to hear. Her words a clear attempt to publicly shame me into submission. I could have had security remove them, could have called the police and had them trespassed. Instead, I led them to the conference room, the one with the floor-to-ceiling glass walls where everyone could see in, but no one could hear, the one that symbolized my success, my power, my control. "Kesha is pregnant," Mama announced the moment the door closed behind us, her voice heavy with significance. "Your niece or nephew needs stability, needs family who supports each other." "Congratulations," I said, keeping my voice flat and devoid of emotion. "That has absolutely nothing to do with me or my business. How can you be so cold?" Kesha's hands went to her stomach, cradling the barely there bump. "I'm your sister. This baby is your blood. You stopped being my sister when you betrayed me," I said, my voice unwavering. "That child will have parents who chose each other by destroying someone else. That's the family they'll have to live with." "She's punishing us," Marcus said to my parents, as if I wasn't even in the room, as if I was some malevolent force they couldn't comprehend. "Systematically destroying every opportunity because she can't let go of the past." "The past?" I laughed, a harsh, bitter sound. "It was 2.5 years ago. You're not my past. You're the trash I took out. The fact that you keep ending up in the same dumpsters I'm buying isn't my problem." "Listen to yourself," Daddy roared, slamming his hand on the table, rattling the glasses of water. "You sound hateful, mean, bitter. This isn't the daughter we raised." "No, you're right," I said, stepping closer, my eyes burning with a long-suppressed rage. "The daughter you raised would have accepted your limitations, would have stayed small so you could feel big, would have funded Kesha's business ventures and smiled while she took credit for my strategies." I leaned forward, my voice dropping to a near whisper. "That daughter died in your dining room when y'all celebrated her failures. I'm what's left." "Baby, please," Mama pleaded, tears welling up in her eyes. "Kesha made a mistake, but she's sorry. We're all sorry. Can't we just—" "Sorry doesn't rebuild trust," I said, cutting her off, my voice unwavering. "Sorry doesn't erase 2 years of silence. Except when you need something." 6 months later, I stood in my penthouse apartment, overlooking the city I'd conquered, the city that had once seemed so far out of reach. Apex Capital Group was worth $300 million. I'd been named to every prestigious list, spoken at conferences worldwide, become everything they said I couldn't be. My phone buzzed, another message from Mama. They came weekly now, each one more desperate than the last. Kesha's baby was due soon. Marcus had taken a job in retail, working long hours for minimum wage. Their dreams of entrepreneurship had died a slow, agonizing death, just like so many other casualties of my success. I should have felt triumphant, vindicated, like I'd finally proven them all wrong. Instead, I felt hollow, empty, like I'd won a Pyrrhic victory. Angela had quit last month, leaving a polite resignation letter and a vague explanation. "This isn't why I got into investment banking," she'd said quietly, her eyes filled with a subtle sadness. "To help someone wage a personal vendetta." She was right, of course, though I'd never admit it. Somewhere along the way, proving my family wrong had become more important than proving myself right, and that was a dangerous path to tread. Every business I'd blocked them from, every opportunity I'd sabotaged, I'd convinced myself it was just good business, that I was simply protecting my investments. But late at night, in the quiet solitude of my apartment, I knew the truth. I'd become exactly what they'd accused me of being. Cold, calculating, ruthless, using my power to punish rather than build. The saddest part was that I'd won, completely, utterly won. And it tasted like ash, like dust and disappointment. I looked at my reflection in the floor-to-ceiling windows, the city lights twinkling behind me. Grandma Rose's eyes stared back at me. But they held a new emotion now. Something I hadn't seen before. Disappointment. She'd wanted me to escape their toxicity, to rise above their negativity, not to become toxic myself, not to sink to their level. My empire was built on brilliance and spite in equal measure. A foundation of both innovation and resentment. I'd helped dozens of businesses thrive, changed hundreds of lives through my investments, created jobs and opportunities where there had been none before. But I'd also deliberately destroyed my own family's dreams, not because they deserved it, but because I could, because I had the power to do so. Success without reconciliation, it turns out, isn't success at all. It's just an empty shell. A hollow victory that leaves you feeling more lost and alone than ever before. Freedom? It's really just a gilded cage. The phone buzzed, Mama calling again. This time I picked up. "I'm sorry," I blurted out before she could even say hello. Not sorry for finally achieving success, but for allowing their negativity to taint it. I can't finance Kesha's business venture. However, I can definitely help her connect with investors who will, provided she's prepared to put in the genuine effort. It wasn't about offering forgiveness, and reconciliation was far from my mind. It was simply the weariness talking. You know, sometimes the toughest opponent you'll ever face isn't some external enemy. It's that embittered, wounded version of yourself that victory spawns. If you've ever found yourself caught between the allure of success and the pull of family, between the desire to prove your worth and the fear of losing yourself in the process, then leave a comment below. Because sometimes the price of winning is far steeper than the cost of losing could ever be. And don't forget to subscribe for more honest stories about the true price of ambition.